everyone. You're listening to TLDR at Earshot, where we answer questions everyone is asking and we make it crisp and fast. I'm Garima, and with me is my co host Dipavli.
Hi everyone.
Today, we're talking about one of the biggest, but probably not the most successful startup stories India has seen in the last decade, the edtech industry. From billion-dollar valuations, celebrity advertisements to mass layoffs, major financial losses, legal battles, and also jail term in a foreign nation for someone. India's edtech journey has been dramatic. But is the story really over? Or is the industry simply entering a new phase? We will break it down in today's podcast.
Okay, so let's start from the beginning. That is the rise of India's edtech industry, for which we have to rewind to the mid 2010s. India already had a huge education market. Millions of students every year appeared for exams and still do for exams like JEE, NEET, UPSC, CAT, board exams. And parents are, as usual, willing to invest in coaching for their wards. Then the smartphones came in, they became cheaper, internet access improved, the Jio's revolutionary mobile pricing came in. Suddenly, then online education became accessible everywhere, even in smaller towns. And that's when companies like Byju's exploded. Not just Byju's, an academy, Vedantu, and later Physics Wala. So these came on the scene. And at first, their model looked perfect. Students could learn from home. Online study material was available, and the top teachers they became celebrities. And the courses online were cheaper than traditional coaching. So investors also saw a massive opportunity in this. And then came COVID-19.
Yeah, the pandemic then changed everything. It became the biggest turning point for the edtech globally. Schools had shut down, coaching centers closed, and suddenly online learning wasn't optional anymore. It became a necessity. During 2020 and 2021, downloads of learning apps surged many folds. Venture capital money flooded into edtech. Companies started hiring aggressively, celebrity endorsements became very common, and valuations of these edtech firms skyrocketed. Global capital poured into Indian edtech as lockdown shattered traditional classroom. Funding peaked at over $4 billion in 2021. And the biggest example was Byju's. The company went from being India's startup superstar to reaching a valuation of nearly $22 billion at its peak in year 2002. Think about that for a second. An online learning company became one of India's most valuable startups. After this, Byju started acquiring other educational companies aggressively, like White Hat Junior, Akash Educational Services, Topper, Great Learning, and several others. The plan was simple: dominate every single segment of education.
Now, after that, something obviously went wrong. The same things that fueled the rise eventually caused the downfall. One of the major philosophies that these edtech platforms pursued was growth at any cost. They had invested huge amounts on marketing, celebrity sponsorships even, IPL ads, acquisitions, sales teams, and expansion. So from 2019 to 2021, these edtech startups used to conduct mass hirings from colleges and universities. And they offered rapid growth to employees who were bringing in more business and increasing subscription. Then many companies focused more on user growth rather than profitability. But then COVID-19 happened and changed everything. But after COVID ended and then schools reopened, this, of course, changed consumer behavior dramatically. Students and parents returned to offline coaching and hybrid modes of learning and physical classrooms. And then this online-only model began to suffer. At the same time, global funding also slowed into such industries as people were opting for offline modes once again. Interest rates rose post-COVID-19 and investors then demanded profits, and the startups could no longer burn cash endlessly. So that's when the cracks started showing.
And the fall of edtech, especially Byju's. The most dramatic collapse came from Byju's, which became India's largest edtech firm. The company faced delayed financial filings, governance concerns, debt problems, investor exits, mass layoffs, and legal disputes across countries. Recently, a Singapore court sentenced Byju's founder, Baiju Ravindran, to 6 months in jail for contempt of court over alleged non-compliance with disclosure orders. However, the owner said that the ruling was only procedural, and he also denied any wrongdoing. The fall has become symbolic of the risk of hypergrowth startup culture. What's important is that Byju's didn't fail because Indian stopped caring about education. It struggled because their expansion model became too aggressive. Debt became unsustainable and operational discipline had crumbled.
And then, of course, came the layoffs. And Byju's wasn't alone in this. There were several edtech firms that started cutting jobs. They shut down offline centers. They reduced their huge marketing spends and started restructuring their operations. An Academy was one of the biggest names in the sector, and it has now been moving towards a more franchisee-led and asset-light model. So the sector that once looked unstoppable, it was moving at a high velocity, it suddenly, came to a speed bump and became more cautious. Some startups disappeared, others merged, others pivoted to upskilling or assisting students who want to study abroad or enterprise learning and AI tools. And investor sentiment, of course, also changed sharply. So funding became harder to come by.
But did all the edtech firms fail in India? Not exactly. This is where the story gets interesting. Even during the slowdown, some companies survived and even grew. The biggest example is PhysicsWallah. Unlike many rivals, PhysicsWallah built its brand differently. Lower pricing, strong teacher-led community, affordable courses, their organic YouTube growth, and others. Founder Alak Pandey became extremely popular among students, especially outside the metro cities. So PhysicsWallah later became the first major Indian company to go public after the sector's downturn. The stock market debut valued the company at over $5 billion. Now even PhysicsWallah is not completely free from pressure. The company continues investing heavily in offline centers and expansion. And recent results showed strong revenue growth, but continued losses due to scaling investments. Still, investors see it as one of the stronger survivors in India's edtech reset. But how did PhysicsWallah survive better? Many experts believe that PhysicsWallah survived because it stayed closer to India's core education reality. Instead of selling very premium aspirational learning alone, it focused on affordability, exam preparation, and the Hindi-speaking markets. In India, competitive exams are massive. Every year, millions prepare for JEE, NEET, UPSC, CUET, and other government jobs. That demand never disappeared, so PhysicsWallah simply tapped into it more sustainably than some competitors.
Okay, so let's now bring our attention to what was the real problem with edtech. All edtech companies in India have always faced one big challenge. That is, education is not like, our quick commerce delivery apps or ride-hailing services. Anyone, any consumer of the edtech sector wants results, they want outcomes. Parents eventually started asking if their children are actually learning and whether their marks are improving, whether this can be seen, on their mark sheets and performance reviews in school, and the answer was a big no. And unlike entertainment apps, education also requires trust and consistency and discipline. And like I said, actual results. Many edtech firms underestimated this. And they also started facing criticism for their aggressive sales tactics. Their marketers were asked to target parents emotionally and pitch outlandish results for their children. There were expensive subscriptions and, like I said, unrealistic promises, and all of that eroded trust. And the biggest surprise after COVID was the return of offline coaching, although that should not really have come as a surprise. Students do value one-on-one relations with their teachers. They value their peers. Classroom discipline matters. And, peer competition also adds to one's capability of self-improvement. And social learning is another big thing. So today, many edtech firms are no longer only online. They have become hybrid businesses. Even digital-first companies have now opened classrooms. So this looks very much similar to the traditional coaching that already existed in India.
And now AI is changing edtech again. So AI comes as the next disruption for the edtech industry. AI tutors, adaptive learning systems, and the ChatGPT style tools are already changing education. Students can now solve doubts instantly, generate notes, practice their mock interviews, and personalize learning. This creates both opportunity and danger for edtech firms. Opportunity because AI can improve learning efficiency, but danger because basic recorded video models may become outdated very fast. So is the Indian edtech dead? Not yet. India still has one of the largest student populations, huge competitive exam demands, growing internet penetration, and rising digital adoption. But the era of easy money is definitely over. Now the sector is entering a more mature phase. The new focus is profitability, trust, learning outcomes, operational discipline, and sustainable growth. Experts believe that the industry may consolidate around a few strong players rather than dozens of heavily funded startups.
And so the rise and fall of Indian edtech is a story about ambition at its core. It showed how technology can democratize education and how quickly startups can scale, and also how dangerous and unchecked, unrealistic expansion can become. Companies like Byju's proved India could build globally recognized education brands, but the collapse also reminded everyone that governance matters, and trust matters, profit matters. At the same time, survivors like PhysicsWallah showed there's still massive demand for affordable and accessible education in India. So perhaps the story of Indian edtech isn't over. Maybe it's just simply evolving or transforming into something different. That's all on this episode of TLDR. Thanks for listening. Take care and goodbye.
You are listening to Earshot Podcasts. Find us on our website, earshot.in, on YouTube at Earshot Media, and download our app, Earshot, Indian Podcast app.